All right, welcome. We're going to check out today a little bit of Germany. This is prior to 1945, what we're going to be looking at. But right now, we are looking at after 1945 or around then. What we see is a highly destroyed cities here, buildings, bridges, infrastructure. Not a lot left to look at. Absolutely destroyed. Now, it's not to say every building in Germany was destroyed, but it's clearly to say a lot of buildings were destroyed, a lot of the infrastructure. What did it really look like prior to 1945 before the tanks rolled in and the bombs were dropped? And so let's take a look at that right now. I'm going to go with some before and afters to start with here. And really, we're not looking at stuff they built in the 1930s or any of that kind of Nazi weird regime, but we're going to go well before that. So here's buildings well before the 1930s that have been around for a long time. Interesting, all the streets you're going to see in Germany pretty much are done in beautiful cobblestone, nice curbs, really well done construction. Here it is today. So that's what happened to that building before and today. Before and today. So we got this before and after. You can kind of really see the stark difference between what was and what is more modern. So very well decked out stuff. Very kind of just everything's a little intricate. These towers everywhere in the old, in the new, pretty bland, pretty blasé, pretty boring, pretty kind of magnificent actually in the past, and very unique and special. So why is that? Why have our building styles deteriorated in Germany as well as anywhere else you look in California? Same thing. Really old buildings are going to be beautiful, very interesting. And what is all this stuff? Like, why do they have this at the very top? Endless kind of techie type things going on at the tops of buildings. They're all over the place. So now they don't clearly have that kind of stuff. So let's take a look at urban planning. This is what this one is here. That's kind of urban planning. See the before and after. Actually, very complex city. Long time ago, prior to the invention of power tools. And here we have again some very complex design, well thought out cities, hugely high environments, very heavy concrete products. How do they get them up here prior to the invention of cars and power tools? These pictures probably taken from a Zeppelin or hot air balloon, but really just really amazing. Actually, I don't think I've seen too many cities like this. Every building pretty much identical in height, not getting higher than another, other than towers and stuff. And every building seems like has this interior design where they have courtyards as well as light comes into all the windows. So everybody gets natural, healthy sunlight wherever they are in the building. And there's a lot of people that can live in these buildings. There's no high rises that cover up the sunlight of another building. Very powerfully impressive design for every city block, maximizing the square footage usage for huge populations to really live a busy life. This is truly interesting to me. It looks almost like at the Apple campus, a big circle horseshoe kind of building environment here. And just a lot of amazing stuff because you get close up some of these buildings here, the Reichstag. There's going to be a lot. This is old. This is not done by Nazis. They might be misused it for what, 30, 20 years, but well before that were these buildings established. Amazing train station. We don't know how far back this goes, but what we do know is this whole city here is built out without power tools, without automobiles, without electricity, generally speaking. These cities are built out from scratch. That's my opinion. I'm going to give you my opinion. These are very old pictures. Now, how do I justify that opinion? They were built without power tools or even cars. Let's take a look. No trucks. People had to get to work on horses, and the buildings were already built. These cobblestone streets here happen to have a lot of them. Look at this train station here. These people, they have horses. They have to carry their own stuff. They have no bicycles, but they do not have cars. And they have this train station that is pretty phenomenal, very impressive, and towers galore. You can see them everywhere, but they're waiting around, and they do not have the invention of automobiles yet. You might say, well, they do have trains. At least they have trolleys. Okay, so, but let's take a look. I'm going to take a more look at these trolleys. These trolleys are interesting. They built up this huge city, more details than I can imagine on the top level. And what are all these kind of electrical gadgets prior to the invention of cars? I don't know what those are, actually, that tech. But, and these beautiful street lamps in the middle. Wonderful. Well, guess what? These things are still being pulled. These trolleys are still being pulled by horses. They don't actually have the invention yet of the technology to allow for self propulsion of the engines. They're not invented yet. So prior to the invention of the actual engine, they had trolleys everywhere being pulled by horses. There's a horse in front of that trolley there, going on tracks. A lot of them. So every city is decked out with tracks. These beautiful trolleys that could be used today, but yet they're pulled by horses because they have not invented the engine yet. So somehow the cities were smart enough to build out all the trolley tracks before, of course, later in the 20th century and even the late 1800s start ripping all these things apart for automobiles to start using them, and they just got rid of the public transportation. They had the beautiful transportation in San Francisco. They did the same thing pretty much everywhere around the world. They always had these horse-drawn trolleys without electricity to even pull them yet, and they had a beautiful system all over the nation ready for engines. So it's questionable to me how that was even thought of. Who thought of doing that beforehand? Let's take a look now at just for the heck of it. I'm just going to throw over some bridges. We'll move on quickly. Bridges, beautiful bridges that were destroyed, a lot of them in the Second World War. Just nice statues. But really, these bridges designed for people in horse carriages. This complex of a bridge with these nice cobblestone streets everywhere, all over the environment here. Very beautiful bridges, all done for before the invention of cars, which is kind of surprising to me that they would really put that much effort into building these wonderful structures and with what power tools? They didn't have any. Yet the concrete looks very powerful, very dense, very well produced. The buildings are beyond phenomenal and filled with questionable ideas of how that could be accomplished without the use of power tools. I don't understand it. Even finding craftsmen that have to live close enough to get to work, they can't drive to work in these environments, and every single building is beautiful. I don't see any that are not beautiful. Let's take one more look before we close out today's video. Today we're going to look two things. One is the construction methodologies. Here's a guy with a hammer and a nail. That's the construction methodology I'm seeing right now. I'm looking at a lot of these pictures here. They're kind of digging stuff up, and they've got very rudimentary kind of looks to their construction. They've got ladders to get up places. Big buildings like this, they're maintaining with just this ladder kind of standing there, and they've got to maintain that building. Here's a crane we're looking at of some sort, try to probably destroy this fountain that's been there maybe for a while. But how do they get these buildings together, these statues up here? These statues, look how big that statue is. The statue is about 30 feet high, and I can't even imagine how many tons it weighs. Look how thick it is made of concrete. So it's a pretty impressive endeavor. There's going to be towers all over Germany. We could look at them. They are very well built. They are very interesting. They have a lot of unique features. Why so many towers? Why so much of this kind of tech stuff going on? Now, these are crosses, of course, but that's a pretty impressive building. And once again, we're going to look at more of that one. There's a few construction pictures like that. There's nobody there on this construction picture. It's kind of interesting. Nobody's there. And I am a little suspicious. That's supposed to be the Reichstag being completed, but I'm a little suspicious. I wonder how hard it would be to fake a picture like that or to actually build out a city like this without construction tools. They're kind of a different thing altogether. And the final thing we're looking at today is going to be some of these large structures. Very, 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 very large, amazingly well built structures, towers. Look at this tower. Pretty wild stuff. And what you can see at the top here, that's representative of a crown. So there's a lot of royal insignia here and there. Something maybe happened in Germany. We don't really know the full history. It's a bit interesting. I also find it interesting, we're told that there's different governments in different parts of Germany that don't get along. And yet this is when all this stuff gets built, and it's all the same. It's all done with tremendous precision and wonderful urban planning, and it's all across of Germany. And, let's finish off with this because it's a bit mysterious. These are some of the big buildings. A bit mysterious. If we can finish off with the before and after, if I can track that down. I find this to be a little, I'm going to go back through the before and afters real briefly here. Thanks for bearing with us. This one here, look at this. Germany up here, modern day, this didn't get destroyed. The crown showing a royal insignia, a very powerful and important symbol in a long-standing building that has not deteriorated like our modern day buildings do. This down here, same thing, crown, not deteriorated, old, made of stone. But the only challenge that we're facing with our historical understanding here is this here is in Germany. This here is in Japan. Germany and Japan do not have connected history in our books that would allow for this to take place. And yet somebody decided to build this with the royal insignia, and down here the same thing. Was it empire? Was it a worldwide empire? We don't know, but it's mysterious. It's a very mysterious thing. So let's take a look later at maybe how this exact kind of thing, before and after, it's not even just Germany, it's all over. It's all over the place. But Germany's worth checking out. So thanks for checking this out with me today and having a little fun seeing the beautiful home country. We'll make a nice video sometime with music. You can just sit back and enjoy. But it was a beautiful nation, and it still is, but it's lost a lot of the details, hasn't it? The details are not quite there like they used to be. And why is that? And why, what are all these poles doing all over the place? I don't understand. Okay, thank you so much. Look at that tech on top of these buildings here. What's going on there? I don't know, but it's interesting. So thank you very much. We'll see you next time, and hope you have yourself a good trip down the rabbit hole. All right. So I can figure out how to stop this thing. I will, but right now I have to edit because I can't figure out how to stop it. Where did I stop this thing? There we go.